Hey girl, hey! I am Jamia Ponder, host and creator of The Mrs. Beside, a safe space dedicated to the real ones standing beside and never behind. Girl, this life ain't no joke. It's time, let's air it all out. Trust me, I understand. Whoo child, I know it's a lot. Hey ladies, on our show today, we have the amazingly beautiful Mrs. Allie Marshall. I'm so happy to have you on the show, Allie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing with this podcast. So thank you.
Of course. So, little background, Allie and I met each other virtually again. But I think you had listened to me on Laura's show. Is that how that
Yes,
happened? And
exactly.
yeah, and Allie reached out to me because our stories were so eerily similar, not down to specific details, but just, I won't tell Allie's story for her, but they were very similar. And so she and I just connected, and she's super, super, super sweet. So I'm grateful and appreciative that she's taken her time to be here with us today. So Allie, want to give us a little bit about yourself, and we could take it from
Sure.
there.
Yeah, your introduction is correct. I heard you on the Married to Doctors podcast, and I was like, I want to be her friend. Our stories are so similar. But yeah, just a little background on me. I'm 32 years old. My husband and I have been married for 11 years this month.
Yay!
Yeah. We have two sons that went through with us through the whole medical school journey. And my husband just graduated medical school last month in May. And now he's starting residency back in our hometown where all of this started.
Right. That is so awesome. Congratulations to you guys. Down to us even graduating the same year. And our husbands are both IMGs or foreign med grads,
Yeah.
if you want to get fancy or not, international med grads. But yeah, it's awesome. But even with the whole international med grad thing, like both of our husbands applied to US schools, right?
Yes, for 2 years.
Yeah. So what was that like?
That was, if I had to look back through this whole journey, that was actually the hardest part of the whole journey, was just getting into medical school to begin with. We kind of went into the application process very naive, thinking he would just get into our home institution, our in-state medical school. And that just wasn't the case. He was a non-traditional student. We were already in our mid to late 20s at that point. So he applied the first year just in state and rejection. And then the next year we looked, researched further into it and decided to apply more broadly and to DO schools. And so he was waitlisted at a few DO schools, and just nothing came about with any of that. So that's when we ended up going into the Caribbean route.
Yeah. And I think so many people, well, not so many people maybe, but there are people like us that have setbacks in a sense and,
Right.
Delays in starting med school. So for us, it was taking the MCAT multiple times,
Right.
and even feeling ready enough to apply, and then getting no interviews, like not waitlisted
Yeah.
anywhere, nothing. And so it can be very discouraging.
Yes,
So,
it was devastating actually to my husband. I remember him being really down, thinking about, well, maybe I'll go into nursing, which was his original plan anyway. He had worked in an ER for 7 years. And so he's like, well, maybe I'll do RN, or maybe I'll do PA school. And, I didn't want him to ever regret that or look back and think, what if I would have done something different?
Right. That's so real. That's so real. And it's crazy that you say that because, it does fall on us to like keep pushing them, because I think left to their own decisions, they probably would still be working in the ER
Definitely.
and unfulfilled. So, I mean, how did that take? Because I know how it felt for me, right? But
Mhm.
what was the emotional toll that it took on you to have to support him through those years?
Well, I feel like, that's a good question. I feel like I was actually the one rooting him on to keep doing this because there were a lot of times where he was like, "No, we're not gonna spend the money and apply again this year." And that's when I started researching the Caribbean schools, which he
Hmm.
had always been like, "No, no, I don't wanna do that." And for no really apparent reason. And so then I just looked into like an open house. His school that he ended up going to held like a information session. And so I was like, we're just going to go to this and talk to them and see. And that's where it all started.
That's awesome. So then you guys get into med school,
Hmm.
and you move to St. Martin.
Yeah.
And then what?
Well, we had a newborn. We had a 8-week-old baby and a
Oh
3-year-old. And we
God.
got there. It was just a culture shock. We left our home state of Kansas with snow on the ground and we made it to St. Martin. It was humid and
Yeah.
but such a beautiful island. I won't take back those memories like for anything. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved living abroad.
Yeah.
It was a lot to adjust to, and I think you guys in St. Martin had probably more conveniences than we did in Dominica.
Definitely. Yeah.
But it was amazing, like just the slower pace of life. But you guys
Hmm.
even ran into some challenges, like once you got there, right? So you had some delays and some hiccups before you even got into med school. Then you got to St. Martin with a new
Hmm.
baby, by the way, to a brand new country. And then, like, what started to unfold from there?
Well, like you said, my husband he got a conditional offer into medical school. So he did the medical education readiness program in
Hmm.
Miami, Florida. And I didn't go with him when he did that. I just let him, go and focus on his studies and really see if like this was even going to work out.
Right.
And
Which, pause,
yes,
because you were either pregnant then or
yes,
your baby had just been born.
yes,
So,
I was pregnant.
okay, right, that part. So it's like, when you talk about sacrifices, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like
Mhm.
not to breeze over that, because that medical education readiness program, my husband
Mhm.
also did
Mhm.
in Florida, and it was 3 or 4 months. I think it was 4 months.
Yep, a
So
whole semester.
yeah, so not even like just a time commitment, but also we had to pay for that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then then we had to find him somewhere to live
Mhm.
while he was down there. And on top of that, so support him from being in Florida and still take care of yourself being pregnant and
Mhm.
then probably what, 2-year old.
Yes,
Okay.
2-year-old. And my parents were gracious enough to let us live with them during that time. So, yeah, my son and I lived with my parents in Kansas, and my husband, we sent him off to Miami, and thankfully, he did get to come back for the birth of our second son, and then he went right back to finish up.
Yeah. Leaving you to,
Mhm.
heal
I was like,
after
"This."
having a baby. It's fine though, really. It's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, it's not like it's a big deal or anything. It's cool.
Yeah.
So then you guys finally you get to St. Martin.
Mhm.
And then as I understand it, your husband had a medical crisis.
Yes, it was definitely a crisis. So, yeah, it was his 4th semester, so we had been in St. Martin for a year, and, he went into septic shock from E. coli, and we still don't even know the full source of that, like, how that even happened, but it was, February of 2017, and he just woke up and really didn't even know what planet he was on, and rushed him to the ER in St. Martin. And yeah, he was on his deathbed. We had to be medically evacuated off the island and had to come back to our home state for rehabilitation. He like had to learn how to walk again. It was really crazy
Oh my
time.
gosh.
Yeah, but our community on St. Martin really supported us. I look back at that time And I'm just so grateful for the friendships we made,
Yeah.
and it was awesome.
Yeah. Because I can't even imagine. You still had two babies essentially at this
Yeah.
point, and your husband in a major medical crisis. So
Mhm.
you guys left the island, and then at some point he had to come back, right? So you went on like a leave,
Yes. So he
a
had
medical leave.
to he did withdraw from that semester, which was really hard to do. He didn't even want to, but I was like, we have to go back. Like, we have to get you healthy so we can actually finish this thing. So he was a semester behind at that point.
Okay.
And so we went back for a semester, and that is when the hurricane hit.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. No big deal. Just a major, like, weather, a
Right.
weather crisis. Was Irma what category was Irma?
It was a category 5.
Okay.
If not more. I don't even know the scale, but it was terrible.
So when Irma came through,
Mhm.
what was the process for getting you guys off the island? Because it knocked out communications and all that stuff too, right?
Yes. Actually, thankfully, we were not on the island at the time.
Okay.
Our apartment and all our things were still back on the island. It was like the semester break between like the summer semester and the fall semester.
Okay. So you guys
That
had come back to the States during that
Yeah.
break. Gotcha.
We had come back to the States. We went to a friend's wedding and just some follow-up doctor's appointments, and we were ready to go back. And then we saw that Hurricane Irma was right in the path. And the airline actually made the decision for us because we were ready to, board our plane and go back, but they canceled it. So luckily, we were not on island and had to be evacuated because I saw what my friends went through, and that looked like it was very traumatic.
Yeah. Well, so when did Irma hit? When was that?
It was September, I believe, first week of September in 2017.
17. Okay. So yeah, so then it was the exact same time because I think like Irma had come and then there was one right after it that we thought we were going to get hit with in Dominica, like they had boarded everything up.
Mhm.
And, we were sitting there waiting and literally nothing. Right.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
right after that. So yeah, you're right. It was the first week of September because I remember reading about it.
Mhm.
And we were like, oh, yikes, that's crazy. We were
Yes.
looking at some of the destruction and stuff. But then after Irma, shortly thereafter was Maria. So we were
Yeah.
all prepared and all that and boarded up stuff and nothing happened to us. So we were like, psh,
Right.
we started eating our
Uh-huh.
hurricane snacks.
Right.
And Maria came and we were on the island because the semester
Yeah.
had already started. So it was like September
Mhm.
18th, 2017.
Right.
And Maria came through and destroyed Dominica.
What category was Maria?
5. Yeah.
5, yeah.
Irma and Maria were both 5s.
Yeah.
So Irma missed us and it kind of
Mhm.
came up and hit St. Martin, but then Maria came directly over top of us. So
Right.
yeah, it's just crazy.
I remember hearing about Maria right on Dominica also and wondering like, oh my gosh, all these students, it's terrible. I can't imagine you being on the island with all your children and
Yeah, it was a lot. And I don't even think, not even think, we didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to really grieve after that because by the time we got back, it was, we were in fight or flight mode, like trying to figure out
right.
how to get the semester finished up
Mhm.
because he was in his last semester at that point. But when you guys were hit with Irma, I don't know, I can't remember how quickly the recuperation period was because I remember sort of shortly after that. Did you guys transition to e-learning or remote learning, or
No.
you went right back,
Um,
right?
yeah, they went right into it. I think maybe 2 weeks in between, and then they were like, "Okay, we're gonna do the semester in the UK, in
Okay, that's right.
Preston, England." That's where AUC ended up sending their students.
That's right.
And so at that point, we were like, okay, well, go finish. It was our 5th semester. So our final semester. And so we were like, well, I'm going to stay back here with the kids again.
Yeah.
Go and just finish up.
Same. I was going to ask if you went to England, but that answers it.
No, I just couldn't. I don't know how financially we would have done that.
Yeah.
And like you, I was also grieving the whole process, not saying goodbye to friends, losing belongings, which in hindsight is really nothing, but it was a process.
Oh, yeah. With any major event like that, there is a process, whether you were physically there or not. It leaves like this sense of incomplete. It's incomplete, everybody else. And I know AUC was a lot like Ross, where we had the spouses organization, and every semester when we transitioned out, we would have like the spouses, final farewell. And so everybody sort of got to close those chapters, like say goodbye to everybody. And it was emotional, but to have that taken from you, like you don't even get that process, the opportunity to do that. So he went to England, came back, finished up that semester, and then you guys were rotating in the States.
Yes. So he studied for step 1, and then we were placed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for his 3rd and 4th year. And then we all moved, our whole family, us 4, moved to Baton Rouge together.
Okay. So what were some things because I know that there were some periods of separation, from the beginning, much like myself. So how did you cope with that? What were some things that you did? Because I know we talk heavily about self-care, and it's like almost impossible with a newborn and a 3-year-old. Like they need so much of you, right? So how did you stay grounded? I know you probably had your parents there that helped a lot.
Yes, it did help that we were in our home state. But really what I did to keep myself sane was I just threw myself back into my work. So even before medical school, I had an embroidery business, and I actually shut it down. And when we went into medical school, so in the hurricane, I just reopened my existing Etsy shop that I had put on hold, and I got my machine serviced, and I just set up shop again, and I went back to work. It fulfilled me, my creative side, plus supported us financially, which had been lacking.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I was with my kids during the day, and then I would work at night when they went to bed, which I still do to this day. And that really helped me.
Yeah, I mean, because it has to be something you enjoy. And as a bonus, you were able to make money from that and be able to support your family.
Definitely.
But aside from personal fulfillment, I know that, our spouses require a certain amount of support from us, even at a distance, right? And I know for me, it always seemed like Desmond would call like at the wrong time. I got like a butt naked kid running by. I'm trying to grab a towel off the bed. Like, hold on, 1 second. Like, I know you miss it here, but I am literally coordinating chaos. So how did you still pour back into your marriage?
It was definitely hard because there were times when he was in England, there was a 6-hour or 8-hour time difference.
Right.
And so he would call right when we were waking up and he was going to sleep. And, we had a set time every day that we talked or Skyped. And I tried not to complain because I know that if things were different, he would want to be here helping me. So that's, what we did.
But it doesn't take away that feeling either. That feeling at like, I know you want to be here, except for you're actually not here.
Right.
So like in this very moment, like I'm pooped. Like I'm worn out. I have been touched all day. I have been pulled on all day. Like, I'm literally worn out. And I have orders that are stacking up that I'm trying to make, deadlines for and stuff like that. So I mean, I think it's great. but I also know the
Mhm.
challenges that exist within that confine too.
The good thing is, I would say Jordan, my husband, is very understanding and he knows that this is a complete team effort.
Yeah.
So, and he really would help whenever he could.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. And it's like, I know you understand, but I also know that it's so hard. It's so hard and it requires so much of us. So I would, my hat is off to you because I know what that takes.
Yeah, me
I know
too.
what it takes, but that's awesome. And you had your mom there, but when you were in
Mhm.
Baton Rouge, when you were in Kansas, I know you had your parents there, but
Yes.
when you moved to Baton Rouge, how were you able to build a community there? Because we came to Chicago, we have no family here.
Mhm.
And so I know that that's also a challenge that moms and wives run into is how do I build community because it can feel very lonely.
That is a really good question. And now that we're back in Kansas, I look back at our 2 years in Baton Rouge. I didn't have a community in Baton Rouge. I really didn't. I had like two friends that were my kids' parents from their school.
Okay.
And yeah, but no, there was really no community. And his rotations were long. I mean, probably nothing that we're about to have in residency, but no, I really was in mom and work mode the whole 2 years we were there. Takes kids to school and then I worked, and that was really it.
Yeah. Well, and I know now, now in the age of technology, it's a little bit easier to build that community, via Facebook groups, mutual interest groups based on whatever you're interested in, or even like affinity groups for med school wives and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would definitely encourage women out there because it can feel very lonely or overwhelming, especially if you aren't connected with people who sort of speak your language.
Right.
Like they, other people may not even realize how much it really takes. So,
One of the things with Baton Rouge was it's not with AUC, it's not a full core rotation site. So there weren't a lot of spouses that were in Baton Rouge. I think it would have been different if we would have been in like one of those sites that were, they could do all their rotations at once.
okay.
Um, but since it wasn't, he also did away rotations when we were in Baton Rouge.
Oh
So
boy.
I was really alone in Baton Rouge when he was out somewhere else.
Yeah. Cause those were, like 6 weeks?
Yeah, he did 6 weeks in Miami and then 6 weeks in New York.
Okay. Yeah, Desmond only had one away rotation. He was in Maryland for 6 weeks,
Okay.
but I did a lot of sort of sleuthing before I got here. So I connected with some like Facebook groups for people in this specific area.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so they weren't necessarily, med school wives, although I did connect with
Mhm.
the Chicagoland group. But really, the friendships that I built were, again, like you said, parents of kids that my kids went to school with, and people that I met online
Right.
before I got here that turned out to be my neighbors that are fantastic people.
Right.
So, but it can be, a little isolating when don't have any real friends here. It's like I have
Mhm.
nobody to grab a drink with, or,
Mhm.
you need that connectivity from other
That
people.
was one of the reasons I was so thankful that we ended up matching in our home state because I just can't imagine, you know, I know I could have, but researching schools and neighborhoods and trying to meet new people in a new place for residency, it was just daunting to think about. So I just feel really thankful that we ended up where we did.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, despite the challenges
Mhm.
that Allie and Jordan went through med school with, 2 years to even get into med school and then the medical crisis and hurricane, despite those obstacles, Jordan matched at his number one choice. So it's
Yeah.
like there is light at the end of the tunnel. You're exactly in the right place where you're supposed to be at the right time because if you just stay the course, eventually
Yes,
it does come.
there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel, which I know we haven't started residency yet, so I know there'll be their
Same.
own challenges in that. But, you know, just if we would have given up at any point, which we wanted to, there were tons of times where I was like, is this even worth it anymore? We wouldn't be where we're at now.
Right. Right. And there are tons of times when you're like, okay, this is ridiculous.
Mhm.
This is ridiculous. Like, how is it worth it? It's not worth it.
Well, and kind of looking at the whole medical school journey, I look back and our issues weren't really ever academics. They were always health or financial, just stress.
Hmm.
So, just stay the course. Definitely. That's all we had to do.
That's right. Because, the student loans, which I always found was crazy, even when you do take out the loans for med school, the amount that they give you sort of above and beyond your student loans is the same
Mhm.
for someone who's single with no children as it is for someone who
Definitely.
is married with children, which
Mhm.
baffles me a bit, but you're only given a certain amount to work with. So you really do
Definitely.
have to think outside the box, like have
Mhm.
these side businesses. I know when we lived in
Uh,
Dominica, I was cooking dinners and I would
Oh,
serve
yeah.
like 50 to 60 people every two
Mhm.
weeks just to get extra money, like
Exactly.
to have
I
some extra
look
cushion.
I look at the 2 years in St. Martin, and financially, I don't really know how we made it, but for years 3 and 4, if I wouldn't have been working, there's no way. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's it's a ton of money that goes out the door, not to mention paying for exams and
Right.
all of this stuff, moving fees,
It's
all of that.
stressful.
It's
Mhm.
extremely expensive, but you guys did it. So congratulations to you.
Yes, we all did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, okay, we got it. All right, we're doing good. I'm like a little bit nervous about residency though. It's like, okay, what are we about to step into?
Right. Definitely. I'm kind of at that point where we got through med school. I know we'll get through residency,
Yep,
and I'm just like, I'll see you when I see you.
honestly. And the kids are bigger now.
Yes, they
So
are.
not that they
They'll both
require any
be
less.
Yeah. They'll be in school full time. That'll be a huge weight lifted off me.
And how
Yeah,
old
and
are
they
your boys
understand
now?
this whole process now too.
Yeah. Well, and how old are your boys now? So they were
They're
8 weeks
7
and
and 4
3,
now.
7 and 4. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. So time goes by very fast
It does.
and slowly at the same time. So we've talked about community building. We've talked about, some of the, a little bit about the sacrifices that you've had to make. So one of the questions I wanted to ask is, what's a common myth that you feel like you want to dispel about being married to a doctor? Because I've gotten comments like, oh, you'll
Mhm.
be all right, or you don't have to work, or, gosh, you're lucky, or just the random
Mhm.
comments that come with not being
Right.
fully immersed
That's
in
a
life.
that's a good question. I haven't really gotten any of those comments yet. I think just because everyone who is surrounded by us has seen what we've gone through. But I mean, I know that stereotype is out there. And I think, if people could just see really what they went through, especially if you're with your, spouse through undergrad and up through graduating medical school, they'll understand that it's not just all rainbows and
It's like, or some people will say, oh, doctors shouldn't be paid that much,
no,
or they shouldn't make the money that they make. And I'm like, well, have you seen their student loan balance?
exactly.
Because,
It's daunting, some of our friends don't even believe it, but you have to spend money to make money, I guess.
yeah, well, that's a lot of things. So as I get ready to sort of wrap things up,
Mhm.
a question that I have been asking every guest that I've had on the show is, what does the Mrs. Beside mean to you?
Um, that is a good question also. When I saw that you were doing this podcast, and listened to even your first just introduction, I was like, I am so glad she's doing this, because you really are a voice to the spouses who have gone through this whole process with their spouses. And, we really do put our significant others before ourselves through this whole thing. I think my husband and I are kind of having like imposter syndrome now that he has graduated, because for 11 years it's always been, I want to become a doctor. So now that he is, we're kind of, I'm also refining myself in the community, our hometown community. And I think that's what your podcast means to me, is just, showing that there is life on the other side of this. And, it's a great thing that we do, supporting our spouses, but remembering that we're individuals as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it means to me. And I think it's a great thing what you're doing.
Well, and maybe not even specifically about like my podcast, but like how that applies in your life, like being the Mrs. beside, Jordan, and keeping Allie in that.
Right.
Not just being mom, not just being babe, but like being Allie.
Yes.
So I guess that's more or less what I wanted to hear from you. Like, how do you apply that being beside him, but also keeping you?
I think just being proud of the things that I can accomplish also, and not just, being very proud of your spouse, but being proud of the person that I am as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Maintaining that sense of identity is so important, because it is so easy to get lost and caught up in and doing for other people that we forget about ourselves. So please tell our listeners, Allie has an amazing Etsy shop. I actually made a purchase today. And so please tell them where they can, the name of your Etsy shop, how they can find it, how they can find you.
So my embroidery business is named, it's So Worth It Designs, and so is SEW. And it's just my little shop I've had since 2014. And I mainly do children's items, monograms, things like that. And yeah, so Worth It Designs. And then I'm also on Instagram at So Worth It Designs.
Yes. So please check her out and support Allie's business. It is amazing. And I can't wait to get my items in the mail. She's also doing masks for children, and there are some masks on there for adults as well. So get you a couple of extra masks. You can always use an extra. They are washable and rewearable. So again, thank you so much, Allie, for being on the show today. I appreciate your time. And again, super, super proud of you. You guys have come a very long way, and there's nothing but greatness ahead of you.
Yeah, same to you, Jamia. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on here, and I was so happy to finally meet you virtually.
Yes, right. Right. That's all we have right now. All right, Allie. Thanks so much.
Thank you.